everyone, my name is Sojus, and today we're going to be starting a new series, and it's going to be based around scripting GUIs. So the first thing we're going to start with is the basics of GUIs and how to place them and how to size them and all of that. So that way you guys have a better feel of the GUIs. And then if we can continue the series and get a lot of, positive feedback from it, then we can keep continuing the series. So the first thing you want to do is go to your Explorer, and if you cannot find it, you simply want to click View in your tab, and then you have these two major ones called Explorer and Properties. You will want to open both of these and make sure they are on your screen somewhere. After you do that, you will want to go into your Explorer, scroll down here, and it'll say Starter GUI. Once you get there, you will simply click this little circle with the plus button, and you will see at the very top, or if you haven't opened it before, just go ahead and type in this little bar, Screen GUI, and it'll pop up just like that. Now we're just going to name this Test for the sake of it. You can name it for whatever you want. It's just simply for practice for now. Once you do that, you can insert a frame. So as you see, we have this little white box here now when we've inserted our frame, and we now have a starter or a GUI on our screen. So if we were to load into our game, this little white square would be in our game. Excuse me. Okay, so now what you want to do is know how to do proper scaling. So if you scroll down just a little bit in your properties, as you can see, we have our background color. You can change this to whatever color you want. And of course, you can edit it to fit your own custom colors and change it how you see fit. So for now, we'll just keep it this color, and we'll move on to the next thing. Next thing we have is background transparency. So background transparency simply alters how much you can see through it. So let's say we make this 0.5. As you can see, we can now see through it, and if we change it back to 0, it is a solid color. So we're going to go ahead and keep this at a 0.5, and we'll move on to the next little bit. Next, we have the border color. Alright, so what border color does is the color around this. So you can see this very, very thin black line around this, and you can also change the border size and also what type of border you want. So we have middle, outline, and inset. So the inset would be on the inner side of the square, and then middle I'm not too familiar with, and then of course we have the outline, which would go directly around the square, and then of course we can change it, the border thickness, accordingly to what we want, and it will have that border around the frame or GUI. Now, when it comes to the background transparency will affect the border and the background. So if you were unsure on how just to get the border, you can simply match the color of the frame to the one behind it and make the border a separate color, and that way you cannot tell the difference between the two. Now if we scroll down a little bit more, you don't necessarily have to worry about position unless you want to get into a serious dedicated position. As you see, it's changing as we move it here on the screen, and we'll just place it here for now. So the next thing we have is a rotation. You can obviously move this, so if we set this to 90, it'll make a full rotation. So let's say we put it at 45. It is now sideways like a diamond, and that is how you can rotate it to make it a little bit more fancy and stuff like that. Next thing we have is a size. You can adjust the size here, or you can take these and expand it how you want it to. You can grab these sides and affect it from these white squares here, and they will stretch accordingly to what size you want them to be. Next thing we'll be looking at is, let's say, okay, let me explain size a little bit more before I move on. So let's say you want the thing to fit your entire screen. We're going to go ahead and set our rotation to 0 real quick. Instead of scaling it all the way to your screen, you can simply put 1 dash comma 0 comma 1 comma 0. And what that does is it sets it to the absolute screen size of the entire game, and that way it's covering the entire screen. So we're going to real quickly switch this back to its original size, and we will move on from there. I'm probably going to do this a little bit more quickly with a little explanation, but we're also going to be learning how to script these as well, and hopefully we can get to that point. As far as behavior goes, you really don't have to worry about these much unless you're getting into some serious GUI stuff. I personally do not know much about the behaviors nor the localizations, so we won't necessarily worry about this right now. So let's say you would like to put a small frame within this frame. So all you'll do is click the plus button on the frame, and then you will insert a frame, and there you have it. It is fit accordingly to that frame, and that way we have another frame within this. And if we want to, we can change the size just a little bit, and one second, I had a typo. There we go. All right, so now we have this little frame inside of a frame, and you know, that's how you insert those into those. Now we also have different types. So let's say you want a text button. All right, so what this does is a text button is what a player can click inside of the game to use it for a specific function. And buttons can also be changed for their backgrounds and stuff. It is the same as the frame, and if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll get to text. Now you can change the font to whatever you would like it to be. You can change the text size accordingly, but personally, most people prefer the text to scale the text to the box, and that way it fits perfectly. So you do not have to I can't speak. Sit there and fidget with the button or the text to get it to fit properly. So let's say we just want this to say shop. So we'll just type in shop here, and as you see, it now says shop. And you can also affect the text color. So let's say we want it to be red. We can go down here to text color 3, and now it'll be red. If we scroll down a little bit more, we have text stroke, and what that is the line around the text. So let's say we want it to be green. We can also change the text stroke transparency to 0, and as you see, it'll glow. And if we change it back to 1, you don't see it anymore. And if we want it to be like 0.5, it's just a slightly lighter glow than a 1. So we're just going to set it back to 1. That way they're unable to see that weird glow. Next thing we'll be looking at is the text label. So what this is it's different from a button. It looks very, very familiar. However, it is not a clickable object. So even if you were to script this object, it would not be clickable. All right. So this is simply for labeling your stuff however you would like it. It works pretty much the same as a button. It's just that it is not a clickable object. So let's say we just want to put title in here, and we have like our title of our game. Next thing we'll be looking at is a image label. Now, the best way to describe an image label is it is a frame that holds an image of what you want it to be. Now, the image label is acting. Usually, you'll be able to click the image label and simply go down here and click and change the image, but it's being a little weird right now and not letting me do that. And the image label works a little bit differently. So if you have your background color, as you see, it's not changing because the image is covering that specific object. So if the image is a little small or transparent, then you can change the background color of the thing, and if you would like to change the image color, you can change the image color with coming down here to the image color 3 and altering the color of that image. Last thing we're going to look at is alright, so second last thing, actually, we can go ahead and go into text box too. Alright, so text, you might see text box frequently when it comes to like codes and stuff. So let's say we'll go ahead and fix this up a little bit to make it look like it's fitting properly. Alright, so let's say we would put in code, press enter, and it would insert the code. Of course, this would be a scriptable thing, but this way their players are able to type into this frame or box, and they can type whatever they want. And that way they can place codes and stuff like that. Maybe they want to alter their player name, they can type it in here, and cool stuff like that. And this works very similarly to the other GUIs, but the players can type into it. Now, last thing we will look at is an image button. Same concept with the text button and text label. They work hand in hand. You can place an image in here, however, it will be clickable instead of being just there for decoration or stuff like that. So, as far as the screen GUIs go, if you do not want your screen GUIs while you are working on the game, but you want them to work while you're in game, you can simply click on your screen GUI up here, or on your starter GUI, and then right here this button says show development GUI, and what this does is while you're in the edit mode of the GUI rather than the play, it'll be here. So if we turn this off and we click the play button up here, the GUIs will be in the game, but you will not be able to see them while you're messing with models or stuff like that. And then if you want it back on, you can simply turn it back on and you are able to edit them once again. Now, as far as the screen GUI properties, there's not much in here that you have to worry about other than the enable and the enable button. That way you can turn the GUI on and off. If you're not using it, you can just disable it, and that way we do not have to worry about it. And then down here, as you see, it says reset on spawn. So let's say you have a intro to your game. If you would turn this off, the player, once it is closed, the player will not have to see it again. So I hope I provided at least somewhat a decent explanation to screen GUIs. I know I kind of rushed through it a little bit, but this way you guys have a grasp to how GUIs work. And that way we can continue the series of scripting them and editing them a little bit more complicatedly and making them look nice and putting them all together. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you found this pretty helpful. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and I will try to answer them as soon as I can. And yeah, if we get this video to 50 likes, we can continue the series on a little bit more, and we'll get into scripting these GUIs and maybe even turning them into a in-game menu. So I hope you guys found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.